Welcome to my channel. My name is Kunal, and on my channel Conversation Corner, I talk about how language influences thought and how thoughts transform your life. I want to talk about how we should avoid becoming our own enemy, or I would rather say, I want to talk about how it really affects us negatively when we become our own enemy. What would I say constitutes being our own enemy? Basically, doing things that are not in our best interest is exactly what constitutes being our own enemy. And very often, this is indulgence or sloth. When we choose sloth or when we choose indulgence, we stay within our comfort zone. We stay within the familiar, and whenever we choose to stay within the familiar, life repeats itself. That's the reason one day is not quite different from the others. And the consequence of this is not just limited to us, the consequence of this is limited to the people we surround ourselves with. You've often heard it being said, your vibe attracts your tribe, right? So when you have the vibe of someone who is indulgent and someone who's full of sloth, the people you surround yourself with are people who are indulgent and who are full of sloth. And soon that becomes your second nature, and breaking out of that becomes very hard. Which is why when you break bad habits, you also lose a lot of friends, because now they're not identified with you as you have set on your journey of improving yourself. If you remain an enemy to yourself, if you continue indulging in those things that harm you, the best of friends that you're going to attract are also people who harm themselves and who ultimately harm you. The problem is now you've built a connection with them. Once an emotional connection is built with something or someone, breaking that becomes really hard. So, what you ought to do is checking every day if you're doing things that are in your best interest and that are beneficial to you. The problem with doing what is beneficial to you is very often it'll feel painful, very often it'll feel tasteless, and nevertheless it'll be benefiting you. The problem with doing something that harms you is very often it feels good, very often it's great in the moment, but when the moment is over, then there's regret for the good that was not done and the time that was wasted. So avoid being an enemy to yourself, because then you attract friends who are enemies to themselves and by consequence enemies to you. Hope this video helped you, and I will talk to you in the next video.